often think it has to be a new drug or a new laser or something really high-tech and expensive to be powerful. And they have a hard time believing that these simple choices that we make in our lives each day make such a powerful difference.
In the last few years, a profound change has begun in American medicine.
Dr. Dean Ornish has studied and written about diet and heart disease for decades.
In medical school, I was learning how to do bypass surgery with Michael DeBakey, the heart surgeon. We'd cut people open, we'd bypass their blocked arteries, and he would tell them they were cured, and they'd go home and more often than not eat the same junk food, smoke, and not manage stress, not exercise, and then often their bypasses would clog up. So we cut them open, we bypass their bypass, sometimes multiple times. I said, there's got to be a better way. We spend so much time in medicine mopping up the floor around the sink that's overflowing without also turning off the faucet. If we just literally or figuratively bypass the problem with angioplasties and stents or lifetimes of drugs or other kinds of interventions, then more often than not, the same problem comes back again. But what we're finding is that if we turn off the faucet, if we treat the underlying causes, which to a large degree are not so much our genes but our lifestyle, that our bodies have a remarkable capacity to begin healing themselves. And these chronic diseases can not only be prevented but even reversed much more quickly than we had once realized. When I went to medical school, I started reading all the medical literature and realized that in dogs and cats and pigs and rabbits and monkeys, you could cause them to get heart disease if you put them on a bad diet and didn't let them exercise and put them under emotional stress, but you could reverse it if you changed those same things. So I thought, why should people be any different? And everybody said, that's a crazy idea. There's no way that's going to work. You know, what's the matter with you? I've spent more than 30 years of doing these studies, showing that heart disease could be reversed by changing what we eat, how we respond to stress, how much we exercise, and how much love and support we have in our lives. In our model, the physician acts as a quarterback, and he or she assembles a team of 5 other people to work with: a nurse, a yoga teacher, an exercise physiologist, a registered dietitian, and a clinical psychologist. And when we work at that level, we find that people are much more likely to make these sustainable changes. The patient learns how to empower themselves and to transform their lives.
"25 years ago, I had 5 restaurants in San Francisco. It was a great life. I smoked 6 cigars a day, 10 cups of coffee, a lot of wine. It was wonderful. And I had a massive heart attack. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I could hardly just about walk 3 steps, and I'd have to stop and rest. I was popping 20 or 30 nitros a day. But then Dean Ornish was starting his program to see if you can reverse heart disease through lifestyle change. And he went to my doctor and asked if he could approach me. He told Dean, "How long is the program?" So he said it was a year. And my doctor told him he wouldn't recommend taking me because he didn't think I would live the year. So he figured I was going to die because I was in such bad shape. And now, 25 years later, and I'm in pretty good shape.
We found that after a year, the men who made these intensive lifestyle changes, their physical heart disease improved. It caused their blockages to become less blocked in their arteries. And that was the first study showing that heart disease was reversible. But when you're doing something that has never been done before, it's not universally accepted, to say the least. It was met with a huge amount of skepticism and resistance. People say, well, you're doing this radical intervention. You know, I say, radical? Like compared to having your chest cut open? I mean, give me a break. We need to empower people to change their lifestyle. And if we can make it reimbursable, that really brings it into the mainstream. Now, as you know, heart and blood vessel diseases kill more Americans than virtually everything else combined. And it's treated with things like angioplasties and stents and bypass surgery. And yet, what does the evidence really show? Unless you're in the middle of having a heart attack, which 95% of people who get them are not, they don't prolong your life, they don't even prevent heart attacks. We have a model that works simply by making changes in diet and lifestyles. And in our studies for the last 32 years, we've used very high-tech, expensive, state-of-the-art measures to prove how powerful these very simple and low-tech and low-cost interventions can be.
Now to a new study that shows diet may be a key tool in the fight against cancer. The study was conducted by Dr. Dean Ornish, who looked at patients with early-stage prostate cancer.
More than half of men over the age of 50 get a PSA test every year to try to detect prostate cancer early. It turns out lots and lots of men had a cancer that didn't need to be treated, but they got treated anyway, and it was causing a lot of harm.
There's very little evidence that these conventional treatments make you live longer, but they cause many men to be impotent or incontinent or both. And so there's a subset of men who have diagnosed biopsy-proven prostate cancer who elect not to get treated conventionally.
My path crossed with Dean's because we both wanted to try and bring rigorous clinical trial testing to this hypothesis that lifestyle intervention could have an important impact in men with early-stage prostate cancer.
Hey, how are you? Great seeing you.
I'm one of the busiest surgeons in the country. However, I don't believe every man with prostate cancer needs immediate treatment. So instead, you follow them very carefully and you treat them at the first sign of progression. If you can delay treatment, then that man is not at risk for side effects during that period of time.
Hey, Liz.
Hello, come in.
Dr. Peter Carroll and I collaborated with Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, who won the Nobel Prize in medicine, and she had done a study showing that stress creates shorter telomeres. And as your telomeres get shorter, your life gets shorter.
Telomeres are the ends of chromosomes, and chromosomes have all our genetic information on them. When telomeres wear down and get frayed, the genetic material would get messed up. That prevents tissues from renewing themselves in the body, and diseases take hold.
I thought most things in biology go both ways, so if bad things make your telomeres shorter, maybe good things will make them longer. So we took the men with prostate cancer to see if lifestyle changes can affect gene expression and even telomeres.
The research found that embracing a low-fat vegetarian diet, exercising half an hour a day, and taking part in daily stress-reducing activities can actually change the regulation of genes that are key players in cancer development and contribute to better overall survival.
We found that the men who underwent lifestyle intervention, their PSA rates generally went down and they were less likely to require treatment.
The program increased the telomere length. We even found that when you change your lifestyle, over 500 genes were changed. In effect, turning on the genes that prevent disease, turning off the genes that promote breast cancer, prostate cancer, and colon cancer. And even drugs, even pharma, hasn't been shown to do that.
This puts the language of numbers and molecular readouts to Dean Ornish and his interventions that many in the medical field, I think, feel more comfortable with.
These lifestyle changes can not only work as well as drugs and surgery, but often even better at a fraction of the cost, and the only side effects are good ones. The limitations of high-tech medicine have never been clearer. At the same time that the power of these simple, low-tech, low-cost interventions is also becoming clearer. We could do 1,000 studies with 1 million patients, it would always remain on the fringes. It's all about the Benjamins, as the rappers would say. It's all about the reimbursement. If we can change reimbursement, it's a game changer. We change medical practice and we change medical education. Trying to get Medicare to cover the heart disease program has been by far the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Most insurance companies will follow Medicare's lead. So I realized that Medicare is the Rosetta Stone. If we get Medicare to cover it, then everyone else will cover it. And if everyone covers it, then it becomes a standard of care. Well, I wanted to bring you up to date on our progress. We've been making a lot. Medicare finally is going to cover our reversing heart disease program. That was 16 years in the making, as you know. It's not like there's one lifestyle program for heart disease and another one for diabetes, another one for changing your gene expression, another one for prostate cancer. It's essentially the same program. It's just a question of the degree that people are willing to make these changes.
That's the key point, Dean. People, so to speak, have a constitutional right to be foolish. I mean, we have to respect that.
If we're really talking about true freedom of choice, they already pay for the drugs and surgery. What we also want them to pay for are for those people who are motivated and who want to change, to give them the support that they need in order to be able to do that.
That's probably too logical for the federal government to pick up on immediately.
Yeah.
We didn't get into this situation with so many Americans obese, with this level of juvenile diabetes by accident. We got into it because there were a whole host of policies that led us down this path to sick care rather than the focus on prevention and wellness.
Now that Medicare is going to cover the heart disease program, the next step will be type 2 diabetes. Half of Americans will be diabetic or pre-diabetic in the next 10 years. Half. If we can prevent that and even reverse it, that's how we're going to make true health care and not just sick care available at a time when the medical system is so badly broken.